Well, hello everyone. So glad you could be here today. We're in a little bit of a different spot, and that is because one of the challenges of doing YouTube, BookTube, talking about books on the internet while having a kid is finding time when you're not actually having to take care of them. When you can slip away and just share thoughts for a few minutes. So nap time's a great time, but the problem is my house is pretty small, and so any talking during nap time you risk waking him up, which has happened on more than one occasion. So today we're outside. This is woods right outside of my house, and it's nice, it's mellow out today. Got a little bit of a breeze, but hopefully it doesn't impact the audio here too much. And I just thought it'd be a nice change of pace. While today we kind of go over some questions about how reading's been going for me so far this year in 2025. This is the mid-year freakout tag, which is kind of a funny name for it, but I tried making a couple other videos on just going over what I'd read and what I thought about my reading so far, and didn't really like how any of them turned out. So we're going with this method. We're going to go with a couple of prompts and answering some questions about how reading has gone, and we're going to start out with question number 1, which is, what is the best book you've read in 2025? That's tricky to say. As you know, if you've been following along with my videos so far, we've been doing tier lists every month of what I've been reading. It's just a fun gimmick to keep the monthly wrap-ups interesting. I'm ignoring all of that for this video. There will be some crossover, but I'm not going and mapping it out on my tier list and giving the same answers there, because things change over time. But having said that, I have 3 answers to this as far as the best thing that I've read, and it really depends on what mood I'm in or how you want to judge it, but they do happen to be 3 near the top of my tier list, and the first is going to be The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. So unfortunately I read this in January. So currently the best book that I've read this year, or my favorite, I read right at the beginning of the year. And this book still has stuck with me. I still think about The Exorcist on almost a daily basis. This is more than just monster in the closet, ghost under the bed. This is a novel that, yes, is a horror novel, but is profound and deep. And there's some really interesting things here, especially if you're a religious person, or at least have any passing interest in anything religious. There's some really fascinating things to dig your teeth into here. If you've watched the movie The Exorcist, you'll be familiar with a lot of the beats of the book, but the book makes you sit in it a little bit more, really makes you wrestle with some of the difficult things. Questions of suffering, of pain, of the existence of God in a universe that seems evil, of how human beings grapple with evil. How do you deal with the suffering that's around you? Which is a lot of themes that I like looking at least recently in fiction, and The Exorcist was a great example of that. The other 2 that I talk about is My Brother's Keeper by Tim Powers. This is an alternate, rather it's a secret history fantasy novel, where he takes some weird facts about the Bronte family in the 1800s, and pieces together about what may have been going on behind the scenes, as a couple of the Bronte children got bit by dogs when they were kids. One of them was a rabid dog. And there's some other weird things about the Bronte family, like their father was a parish pastor, and every morning at dawn he would fire a pistol over the graveyard. It's like, why would you do that? And so Tim Powers imagines that what was secretly going on behind the scenes is that there was a werewolf cult that was trying to sink its teeth, metaphorically and literally, into the Bronte family. And so this is sort of about the Bronte family fighting back as they seek to be destroyed from both outside and the inside. Great novel. I've been reading a lot of Tim Powers this year, and there will be more Tim Powers in this tag, but this has been the best novel that I've read by him. I know some people have been reading Stress of Her Regard recently. I like Stress of Her Regard quite a bit. I think it's one of the better novels of his that I've read, but I think My Brother's Keeper is actually better. And I like vampires more than I like werewolves, and Stress of Her Regard is a vampire novel, so that should tell you just how good My Brother's Keeper is, that I'd put it over the vampire novel. And lastly, I'd say What Immortal Hand by A.C. Wilson. So this is a book that I beta read. Unfortunately, it's not out, but A.C. Wilson is an indie author and also a friend of mine. His name's Amos. We've talked about some of his other books on the channel already. He has a swashbuckling flintlock nautical pirate fantasy series that he's in the process of putting out called the Gwambi Tetralogy. Gwambi is Gwambi for anyone who is interested. That one's much more geared for like a PG-13 crowd. It's great. It's great. What Immortal Hand is solidly in the R rating, but it's set in sort of a Bronze Age, tribal, almost Celtic culture, and is about a necromancer that has, there's a prophecy upon him that a young man from this tribe is going to destroy him and destroy his necromantic empire. And unlike normal Chosen One tropes, there's a lot of things that Amos does in this book that will surprise you. He pivots left a lot when you'd expect him to go right. Really excellent novel. It was still in the beta reading phase when I read it, so there's some things that can be polished up, but when this comes out, this is going to be truly something special. If this were truly like self-published already and out there, I would put this out as, or put it up as the best self-published novel I've ever read. Certainly one of the best indie published novels I've read. Moving on to the next question, it says, what is what is my favorite sequel so far this year? And that has to be The Warrior Prophet by R. Scott Baker. I've enjoyed a lot of the sequels that I've read so far this year, but The Warrior Prophet, unlike any other, has been the best. The second Apocalypse series that I've been going through is one that I have somewhat mixed feelings on. There's a lot of things about it that I like. Baker is truly a master of his craft. He's a very, very skilled author, and yet there's always things that either bug me or that I disagree with, or kind of take issue with maybe how some things are executed in the series. But it always holds my attention, and The Warrior Prophet, as a novel, elevates the entire series, because I do think it is the best of the four that I've read so far. Taking influence or inspiration from the Crusades and also from the life of Christ, but sort of in almost an anti-Christ way. The journey of Anasarimber Kellis, who's the main character of at least The Warrior Prophet, his journey in this book is thought-provoking, is horrifying in a lot of ways, but Baker does a lot in this book that really worked for me. I don't know that I would put The Warrior Prophet in my top 10 fantasy novels, but it's certainly in the top 20 best novels I've ever read in terms of fantasy. So that's my favorite sequel so far. The next is any new releases that you haven't read but are excited to. Now, I've done a pretty good job so far this year keeping up with new releases that I'm interested in. So obviously Chance Dillon's book, Mercy, Tears of the Fallen, I've gotten to read. I'm right now finishing up Cold Silver for Souls by Tori Tekken. By the time you see this video, I will have finished it. And then also Aurelia by Stephen Wallhead and The Radiant King by David Dalglish. All have been checked off the list. So I've been doing a pretty good job keeping up with a lot of the new releases that were of interest to me. And The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, picked it up, but unfortunately didn't work for me. So we're going to go with a couple of other options here. One is going to be Level Ascension by David Dalglish. This is the second book in his Level Unknown lit RPG series. Only somebody that I like as much as I like David Dalglish could get me to try lit RPG, but I really liked the first book, Level Unknown. It's a palate cleanser. It's sort of pulpy fun in some ways. It's nothing that's going to be, it's not The Godfather or anything like that, but I really enjoyed it. It's like science fiction meets lit RPG Elden Ring. So there's some really good things there. So Level Ascension is book 2 in that trilogy. Book 3 is still to come out later this year. They've got a pretty rapid release schedule, so I still need to get to it. And then I'll also say Discovery by Jadge Minton. This is obviously the guys at Talking Story. They have a, what would you call it, a Lovecraftian novel that came out, and that looks really interesting. I might sit on it for a while, might save it for a rainy day, but it is one that I'm looking forward to getting to, and is a new release. Let's see here. The next question is, what is my most anticipated release for the rest of the year? There's two answers to this. One is the real answer, and the other is the hipster answer. The I'm not like other girls answer, because I'm not. So the true answer is actually Shadows Upon Time by Christopher Ruocchio. This is the ending of the Sun Eater series. Sun Eater has been a series that's meant a lot to me, so I'm excited to see it be finished. I'm excited to see what the ending is going to be. Funny enough, my least favorite cover by a long shot for the series is the cover for Disquiet Gods. But I think that's the best title out of all the books in the series. And the cover for Shadows Upon Time, at least right now, is my favorite cover in the series, but Shadows Upon Time is my least favorite title of them. So sort of inverted there. But I'm really looking forward to see how Christopher lands the plane here. But the hipster I'm not like other girls answer is going to be because, everybody who reads Sun Eater is looking forward to the ending. It's going to be on a lot of people's lists. So, to set myself apart, we're also going to put out The Mills of the Gods by Tim Powers. I did not know until a few months ago that Tim Powers has a new book coming out from Bane this year, and I could not be more excited for it. There's been no better time to get on the Tim Powers hype train. This is once again another secret history novel. My understanding is that it has connections to Ernest Hemingway. For all the classics reading that I've done over the years, I've never read Hemingway, not even Old Man and the Sea, so I need to get on that. Now, most of the Tim Powers stuff that I've read, I have very little, if no knowledge of the things he's riffing on. So My Brother's Keeper, we talked about it being about the Bronte family. I've never read any books by the Brontes, to my shame. So I'm actually going to try and catch up, though, with some Hemingway books in prep for this. You don't usually need them, that prep, but still would like to. Next up is, what is your biggest disappointments of the year so far? We've got a couple of different options here. One would be Moonraker by Ian Fleming. This was his third James Bond novel, and this is where I kind of jumped off the James Bond train. I really liked Casino Royale, but the last two books that I read just weren't great at all. Did not click with me at all, and I think Moonraker was kind of the nail in the coffin. I don't plan on reading any more of the books from him. Legion by William Peter Blatty. This is the unofficial sequel to The Exorcist. Really disappointing for everything that The Exorcist conveyed and made you think about through action and story and character. Legion just has long, ponderous, philosophical speeches. Not the worst book that I've ever read, but one of the most disappointing of the year. And then lastly, we'll say Sharp Ends by Joe Abercrombie. There's a lot of things that I've admired Abercrombie as doing as a writer that he completely dropped the ball on, I thought, in Sharp Ends. I was really disappointed by this. And with The Devils also being disappointing, it's making me wonder, how much do I want to continue? Let's see here. So with Sharp Ends, that's 7, and then The Devils would have been 8 books into Abercrombie, and so far only 4 of them I've loved. The other 4 I've either been okay or haven't liked, so makes me question that. Next up is, what is my biggest surprise so far? I'd say By Blood, by Salt by J.L. Odom, or the book I'm finishing up now, the other book I'm finishing up now is Lord Foulsbane by Stephen Donaldson. I did not expect to like Lord Foulsbane all that much, but I've been really impressed by it so far. Donaldson does some really interesting things in this book that are clever and predict things that will be in grimdark as a genre, long before the genre was ever officially codified or anything. What's a book that has made me cry? I don't cry at books, almost ever. But City of Thieves by David Benioff had a pretty emotional ending, so I'm going to say that. It's actually starting to rain out here, and I've got a couple books, so we're going to try and speed through these last few questions. What's a book that made me happy? And I'd say Nightside the Long Sun by Gene Wolfe. It was great getting to step into the Book of the Long Sun series and realize that Wolfe still got it. This is one of my favorite Wolfe novels, and I can't wait to reread it with the rest of the series. You can check out my review for this book if you want to hear my more in-depth thoughts, but I really like that. And then lastly, what books do you want to read by the end of the year? We've got a couple of books here. I'll say The Anubis Gates by Tim Powers. It's his most famous book, and so I should read that. I would say The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway, since we talked about getting to more Hemingway this year. But then I have a couple other things that we'll go over that I want to get to. One would be, I want to read more DJ Butler. So he's got his Witchy Eye series, that's sort of alternate history fantasy, but also his Dying Earth series, beginning with In the Palace of Shadow and Joy. I would really like to get to this. And then also Deathless Beast by Andrew D. Meredith. This is the beginning of his Collation saga. I've been recommended this series for probably about a year now. I've been told that it's probably right up my alley, and I've read most of the things Meredith has written except for this, which is a shame. So, sorry, Andrew. But that is a priority. I have the first audiobook and planning on getting to it. Master of White Storm by Janie Wirtz. Janie Wirtz obviously becoming very much a booktube darling. I have a couple of friends who really, really vouch for her stuff. Can't say enough good things about it. And this one's a standalone and seems like it'll be up my alley. I've been told that it is like The Witcher, only good. which is great because I kind of bounced pretty hard off the Witcher books. So looking forward to get to this. It looks like it'll be my thing. And then we'll say I Am a Barbarian by Edgar Rice Burroughs. This is about a gladiator opposing Emperor Caligula. And I've been told that Burroughs does about as much research into the historical time period as you would expect him to do. Which is great. I love Edgar Rice Burroughs. I loved him a lot when I was younger especially, but I haven't read a book from him in many, many years. And I think this was published posthumously, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, I love a good pulp novel, and Burroughs is one of the best for a reason, so looking forward to getting to this. And then another self-published novel, but from a fellow booktuber, Dreamer Awake by Liam Q.D. Hall, who is Liam here on YouTube from Liam's Lyceum. Bought this recently. It's a novella that he wrote, but it's got a recommendation from, once again, DJ Butler and Christopher Rocchio on it. I know it's sort of like, I believe, a cyberpunk sword and sorcery novel, and if there's somebody who knows sword and sorcery, it's Liam. So this should be a pretty fast read, but look forward to getting to this. And then lastly, in terms of classics, Great Expectations by Dickens. I need to read more Dickens. My time with him has been pretty lacking so far. So yeah, definitely plan on getting to him more this year. So that's what I've got on the list. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this. That's about how my year's been going so far and what I hope to get to for the rest of 2025. It is full-on raining here because I'm under the trees. I'm not getting hit with it yet, and my books aren't either. But I'm going to go in now, see if I can save the books. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.